once again, a huge round of applause to all the panelists over here. And now, firstly, to begin the question and answer session with, we'll first sort of start like a rapid fire question. A quick answer on that, probably a one-word answer. Can human rights and police be friends, sir? We'll start with you. Can human rights and police be friends?
Nobody is going to believe that I'm saying the truth. Nobody.
So we can leave it to the audience.
My best friends are very, very honest, sincere police officers.
I think this deserves an
end. There are many of them. All of them are not IPS. All of them are not IPS. There are people as constables, there are people as sub-inspectors whom I respect from the bottom of my heart because of what they are. And if the system is working, it is because of them. We can work together, we can speak together, and we can ensure that the number of conflicts are avoided if we have that.
That's a beautiful put. Over to you, ma'am. Ma'am, friends, enemies, or they have potential to be friends?
Well, I would say that they operate on different fields during the process of law, but of course they have to go hand in hand. If police starts being friends with the accused, then of course human rights are violated. If police crosses the boundaries of treatment to the accused, then again there is abuse of human rights. So there has to be a conscious watch on their own actions, I would say. As earlier one of the speakers said that let's not go to the question of belief in God, I stick to the same stance.
Okay. Over to Ruwan, sir. Professor Ruwan, your take on that. Friends, enemies, or potential to be friends? Maybe a UK perspective on that?
I have been an offender as well as an advocate. So the thing about policing is the culture of policing is so strong, the negative culture. Good people join the police service and do bad things. Not all, but I did, because it was the easier thing to do. Now, I did that in my early career, and I spent the vast majority of my career atoning for what I did. Now, I don't get thanks for that. I do not get thanks, because what I did was awful. It breached human rights. But I also saw so many other people, but they also were just amazing people as well in other circumstances. Evil there isn't one person who does an evil thing.
So can we take that as a middle way, that they have potential to be friends, but it depends on the reality, ground reality there?
I believe if policing, the police structure in the United Kingdom it is hierarchical, but less hierarchical. We retrospectively supervise our staff. So the constables go out and do, yes. But unfortunately, because our policing system does not develop critical skills within our staff, they just follow process. Follow process, it will lead one way, and it's a negative way.
Okay, thank you, sir. Sir, your take on that. Friends, foes, or potential to be friends?
I would say friends. The reason is we have to have friends in the police who obviously many times in terms of handling cases of refugees, we have to have friends as police as friends, because it also depends on the individual cases. As we do not have a policy, I think that individual mindset and the support is very essential, so I would say friends.
Okay, so with this we wind up the first question. I think, sir. Yes, Lordship.
All last bench students will ask questions. What are the 9 principles of policing, sir? Can we have, and we can elaborate on that particular subject? You said 9 principles of policing.
Well, the 9 principles of policing as set down by the Rowan and Maynard back in 1829 basically assured that the public would be at the centre of a citizen-led police service. The British Police Service is meant to be, as the term goes, the police are the public are the police. The public has responsibility for policing in the United Kingdom, not the police. The police are merely the uniformed presence with extra powers to facilitate that. So public should be at the centre, but alas, since 1829, the public aspect has disappeared. So the police see themselves as set aside from the public. We must bring them back so they are part of the community.
Yes.
You said 9 principles, you said. Principles.
The principle.
The 9 principles, what are they?
You want me to go through all 9 principles?
Just name them.
Just name the principles.
Well, see, no, you've heard of the police of the public, public eye of the police is literally one of the principles. The principle of policing with minimum force is one of the principles. I am a former firearms officer, protection officer. There are times when the police service needs to use force. I needed my guns because I was protecting certain people. So I needed to be a force at a precise time. But if I had shot someone, and I did use my firearm on one occasion, I won't say what I shot, because it will offend everyone in the room. It was a cow, by the way. But you didn't hear me say that. It was a mad cow. So the protection of life and property is one of the principles. So there's a whole array of principles that puts community and public at the centre and assures the public that the police will be independent of the judiciary and independent of politics. Unfortunately, that hasn't happened and never has happened. So if we adhered to those simple principles, actually we wouldn't be where we are now. British police confidence has done that. Only a few years ago, a British police officer kidnapped, raped, murdered, and then set fire to a female member of the public. She was a white, middle-class member of the public. And as a result of that, the public confidence in policing has nosedived. The reality that British police have been persecuting, brutalising people of colour in the UK and the working classes in the UK since 1829 was an irrelevance. When they actually did that to a middle-class woman, that made a difference. Now, hopefully, there's going to be a change. But alas, senior police officers in the UK are very slow to change.
So, yes, I think the independence and impartiality remains as a core principle over there.
Impartiality happens to be one of the principles.
Yes, sir.
So all the lovely terms around human rights are principles within those 9 principles. It's about adhering, it's about walking the talk, not simply talking the talk.
Okay. Thank you, sir. So now I would like to specifically point out to Henry Tiffin, sir. Sir, just we have gone through the Global Torture Index, and congratulations, People's Watch have been collaborating in assessing that. India is ranked as a high-risk torture zone, one of the nation with high-risk torture and ill treatment, 2,739 custodial deaths. So do you think that ratification of the convention or a municipal law or a slight statutory control on the tortures can really significantly bring it down?
First, to place on record that it was the National Human Rights Commission in 1997 that was responsible under the leadership of Justice Venkatachalaya to ensure pressure was put on the government of India to sign the UN Convention Against Torture. And the Convention Against Torture has never been ratified from 1997 till date. There have been 4 sessions of the Universal Periodic Review that India has participated. There are hundreds of countries through these sessions who have all asked for the Convention Against Torture to be ratified. Ratification of the Convention Against Torture has not taken place. Now your question is, supposing the convention is not ratified, what happens to the question of torture? I mean, the Convention Against Torture ratification alone is not what we want. We need a Torture Prevention Act here. And in the Ajit Kumar case, we demanded that the government of Tamil Nadu come up with an Ajit Kumar law. If they could bring out a law on other matters, they could come out to the law which is state specific, which makes torture a criminal offense in the state of Tamil Nadu. So that has to be done. This Global Torture Index was the first unique index done globally. I had the privilege of being part of the steering committee which worked on it for the past 2 years. We looked at 26 different countries. You can just look at the Global Torture Index, Google Global Torture Index, and you will get the details. And India was one among the 2 countries looked at which had not ratified the Convention Against Torture. So we will demand the Convention Against Torture being ratified, but we will also demand that we need a law preventing torture in our country.
Oh, sir. That's so well put. So moving further, so now I'll just open the forum, starting with Sachidanandan sir. Sir, before that, let me break into the reality that we are the 4th largest economy, no doubt. We have the highest population, we have the highest youth community in the world. And yet we have another reality to face. We are 109th rank when it comes to Human Freedom Index. We are 70.8 quality when it comes to Life Index, and we are 115th, I'm sorry to put it, when it comes to Global Peace Index. Don't you think, sir, it's high time for India to prioritize human rights parameters than the economic parameters for having more human-centric approach?
It has to go both hand in hand, and we need to have such parameters in place. Otherwise, it becomes very difficult. And very often, we are also being posed with a similar question: why can't India or probably the countries have a parameters and a ranking system for treatment of refugees and asylum seekers? And we have a very difficult situation here because the global the 1951 Convention on the Status of the Refugees and Asylum Seekers are not ratified by many countries. And India doesn't have a law or not even a mention of refugees in the constitutional or any of the judicial pronouncements so far. Of course, we have the support of the Supreme Court judgments and the High Court judgments, which serve to be the guiding principles and the guiding procedures for us. But in this kind of a situation, it becomes very difficult for coming up with a global index, because this is a situation with most of the countries around the world for the treatment of the refugees. But I definitely believe that we need to have a human rights index also to be developed for the countries.
Thank you, sir. So what's Ruwan sir's take on it?
India,
You support it?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, India has signed up to the United Nations Sustainable Development Programme, and there are 17 points within that. Poverty being number 1, end poverty, and looking at the causes of poverty, so hunger, etc., etc. But human rights is also very much there as well. So I'm hopeful for the future, because if India realises it very soon, and I hope it does, it is the future superpower. It's got to stop looking west for the answer. The answers are here. And by signing up to the United Nations SDG, and I would ask you all as lawyers to Google when you leave United Nations SDG, because it's the lawyers in the room who are going to make sure that society follows that. And society needs you to remind the government, etc., of the benefits of moving forward in a positive way.
Okay, sir. Thank you. So quickly to Henry Tiffin, sir. Sir?
Just sake of time, and since I have Varun here with me,
You have not given 7 minutes time. You said that it's only 7 minutes.
it was only 6.5, I thought.
Not so.
So the duration for answering is even less.
Since Varun sir is here, and I say it with great responsibility, we have not ratified the refugee convention in our country.
Yes, sir, very much.
And we have pathetically seen that the refugee cards issued by your office, in the case of the Rohingyas, has not been respected by this government. And therefore, when you talk about policing and refugees, we need to not forget that in Delhi, there were a whole bunch of refugees, Rohingya refugees were picked up, tortured in the police stations with the refugee card. The refugee card was torn. They were flown to Andaman Nicobar. In Andaman Nicobar, they were put into a ship. They were taken to the border of Myanmar, and near the shore of Myanmar, their eyes were tied and they were thrown into the water. thrown into the water. And this is being investigated by the UN Special Rapporteur on Myanmar, Mr. Tom Abraham. So I think we need all of us to strengthen Valen's hand to say we need the convention on refugees to be signed by our country so that people who come here for refuge are respected and their rights are protected in our country, because for them right to life is ensured by our judgments of the Supreme Court and the various high courts. Thank you.
I have an interesting case I think I have explained to Mr. Varen about an Indian being treated as a in India.
Can I just explain? In the United Kingdom, 2 years ago, we made asylum seekers illegal. So someone seeking asylum in the United Kingdom by way of, if they do not come through a legal gateway, i.e. customs, etc., etc., they are a criminal. We have breached United Nations, we've breached international law. The United Kingdom's done that.
Ma'am, over to you, ma'am. Your take on this?
See, there is no doubt that the human rights perspective needs to be highlighted. But when we are comparing it with economic index like the 5th largest economy and happiness index or global human rights index and things like that, well, the beginning of all, as sir pointed out with regard to SDG number 1 being poverty, first we got to have money in place. Then of course it may be spread across to resolve certain issues.
We can't preach an empty stomach. Yes.
That's what. And more than that, the responsibility to share the resources in a more responsible manner is again an inherent quality which may not be so lawfully be imposed, but there should be some room where with flexibility certain policies can be developed.
Thank you. That's so beautifully put, ma'am. And coming to probably the last question of this session. Before that, short highlight into the reality. Police budgets accounts for only 3% of government spending in India. As sir has told, they don't have any right to association. And it has been stated that 81% of the police force in India work more than 8 hours per day. And as far as the police population ratio is considered, it's 155 police personnel for 1 lakh people in India, which is very, very less than the requirement. So going ahead on the basis of the statistics, my question would be whether a police welfare-centric approach can increase their attitude towards human rights. So, ma'am, we'll, if you...
Well, sure, I have already highlighted the requirement of better considerations to mental well-being of the police officers at the lower level, at the middle level, at the higher level, because their challenges are different. What they are coming in touch with on a day-to-day basis happens to be very different. You cannot be equating a person sitting for cyber cell investigation with that of a traffic policeman.
Exactly.
At that rudimentary level, if there is no parity, of course, very specific attention needs to be given, and for that again, without, like with an empty stomach, no policies in place, money is important for this as well.
Yes. So over to you, sir. Your
Leave to be looked at really well. But before that, ensure their dignity by giving them a right to association. I can't narrate a particular incident. I don't even want to mention the name of the police person. There was somebody who was screaming his head off recently. Why? Because he didn't have an association. 10 years ago, I was doing a program in 9 states on torture, on preventing torture. I went to the state of Kerala and asked the policeman in position, old Mr. Jacob Punnos, who's retired many years before you took over there, sir. Very, very well-known police officer. And he said, here, Henry, we cannot do any training programs without the association saying yes. I had to go to the association, talk to them about the program. They said yes, and their hierarchy said yes. And that is dignity. We don't have that dignity here, and that is the sad thing. So first, give them their dignity, where they will have methods by which they don't have to go to the ruling party circles to get their rights, but their own association to be able to get their rights. I am somebody who votes very strongly, and I hope we will be able to do a litigation in court saying if IPS Officers Association can go public on Balveer Singh, why should not families of policemen go public on matters that relate to their own husbands? That is it.
Very beautiful, sir. So, Ruwan, sir, your take on this?
I think it's vitally important that police officers realise they are civilians. And if they are civilians, they're not military. And there's reasons why the military do not have unions. We can all understand that. But they are civilians. And as civilians, in a civil society, in a social democratic society, they should have the right to strike. I wouldn't want to see the police service strike, but they should have that fundamental right. Now, in British, it's not about money. Yes, I would agree here in India, Sri Lanka, etc., level of corruption, etc., linked to very poor salaries, there is a direct link.
Yes.
UK, no, police officers are well paid. It's a different form of corruption that happens, but corruption does happen. But disharmony in British police services is at the highest it's ever been. Now, those of us who've ever been connected with policing will know that they are professional moaners, okay? They will always complain that those people yesterday had it easier than them today. They will always do that. That's the nature of the beast.
Exactly.
One of the problems is, and it is a problem, but I actually like this problem, police officers are actually above average intelligence. But the role of policing, what's expected of them at times, is that. The fact is there is very, very little satisfaction within the job. If people are satisfied with their role and they realise the importance of that role, and that's why I say we need to re-embed that the whole aspect of the police being in service to the public. The greatest thing that anyone in this room can ever do in their life is be in service to someone else. Okay? That's the best thing. Unfortunately, in British society, and I would suggest in other parts of the world, being in service to other people and being in service to society is not respected. And that certainly is the case in the United Kingdom, and hence morale is very low.
So, yes, sir. So, thank you so much. Now, a specific question to Sachidanandan, sir. Sir, what's your take on non-uniform treatment of refugees in India? What's your take on it?
So we have many groups of refugees, Tibetans, the Sri Lankans,
Rohingyas.
Afghans, Rohingyas, and we have people from Middle East, people from Africa. And most of them, almost everybody, every one of them is considered as an illegal migrant as per the Section 2 of Citizenship Act. And unfortunately, but there are different treatments, the Tibetans in terms of a graded approach based on some ad hoc administrative policies or practices. The Tibetans are treated well, they are even given all the freedoms, all the access to
almost like the
citizenship,
citizens.
everything. And the Sri Lankans, that comes next. And then there probably in the grade, I think there are some nationalities who are not there. And so we need to have a predictable, we need to have a very much a human rights based and dignity approach, dignified approach for all of them. For that we need to have a document or a policy or a provision or a legal document that prescribes the way that we deal with them. So in that way I would strongly suggest and advocate that we need to have a policy or probably even a bill. We had developed a model bill, but that is not, have never seen the light yet. So if at all we are going to come, I think that is going to be the best one for us to meet with the requirements of the people and also the expectation that we have on them.
So, thank you, sir. We really expect a bill like that so the government does not treat people based on their discretion, just refugees. That's it. Sir.
Just a word to be added is that perhaps this is a good time for you or many of us behind you, appealing to the National Human Rights Commission, appealing to Justice Ram Subramanian. If you really are concerned about human rights, then ensure that this government has an equal policy for refugees in this country. I think the National Human Rights Commission has to speak in public because this deals with people.
To answer Henry, See, in fact, this issue was taken up by National Human Rights Commission when the Rohingya issue was crept in. We had issued notice and we wanted to know the central government's view. The only line answer is that we are not party to the Refugees Convention. Nobody can compel us. Then the matter went to Supreme Court. Supreme Court also tried and the Supreme Court miserably failed. This is the position. The question is that we are not party because of the internal security threat.
So that brings to the point of what Lordship was stating in the morning. We need legislative reforms. So,
No, see, when you are not a party to the convention, then the mindset, you will not make any law. This is reality. We will have to understand the reality. And they say there is no discrimination in treating the refugees and the common man's human rights. Citizens' human rights, refugees also human being, they have got right, no problem. But for treating them, implementing certain rights, unless there is a treaty, we will not do that. This is the answer. And when the government refuses to be a party to the treaty, as many of the countries for various reasons, they will not bring out any legislation, take it from me.
And courts cannot direct legislation.
No, in fact, Supreme Court tried its level best giving suggestion. Because court cannot directly make legislation, therefore they suggested in many ways, central government refused. This is the reality.
So very quickly, in fact, I'm going to pass responsibility over to Dr. Mani. It happens to be his expertise area, this actual question. But I will say that certainly in the United Kingdom, the police service is as inculcated in the mismanagement of refugees and asylum seekers as will be the case here in India as well. Now, it's down to, a lot of it's down to ignorance, etc. But it's very easy to be abusive to people who the rest of society are demonizing. So in the United Kingdom, as I said, refugees, migrants are now the demons. They are the folk devils. The police service is reflecting that. But I will pass it over to Dr. Mani, who will give you literally the experience of people, the migrants' experience of police officers both here in India as well as in the United Kingdom.
Thank you, sir.
Only one thing. See, for completion, see, in fact, this Rohingya issue, there were some people were found in Chennai. I received a complaint. Of course, one of my brother judges, who was a Supreme Court judge, he informed me, please take up this matter. Then in the National Human Rights Commission, I issued direction. By executive order, I think, to my knowledge, the only government is the state of Tamil Nadu, by executive order, created a center for those people and they have been rehabilitated. It is still going on. They have been rehabilitated, but not by way of legislation, by executive order.
That's very appreciative of the government of Tamil Nadu. That's incredible. Okay, sir. With no further delay, I open the forum for the concluding remark of the chairperson. Over to you, sir. If I may ask a quick concluding remark.
A quick conclusion. It's been fantastic. As the chair, I'm not going to abuse it. I really am. Well, I am actually. I think what you've heard here today, there is a positive but critical response from all of the speakers here, certainly with regard to refugees, etc. There is a desperate need for refugees, migrants in general, in fact communities in general, to be put back at the centre of the system, listened to. We're currently, Dr. Mani and myself are currently working on a process called solution-oriented practice, which literally does that. And I can speak to you all about that at another time. But the point being, there is a positive way forward. We've got to get away in a criminal justice system from only talking about problems, because every problem has a solution. We've got to move away from just the problem, because all we do is we re-victimise people. And when the most important thing, and it's been, I'm sure all my colleagues will agree, there's one group of people who never ever gets involved in this discussion. In any criminal justice discussions, it's the public and the victims. And we've got to start being community-centred. That doesn't mean we follow, when the community gets upset about something, we then reflect their abuse. No, we're better than that. But we must start involving the communities in the vision of what is good. We've got to do that. Otherwise, we're just going to carry on the way we're going.
It's very quick and crisp. So once again, thanks to all the panel members for enlightening us. I know I've committed a sin by confining the time, but trust me, it was absolutely interesting, absolutely. And I think, sir, we have a personal advantage. We have got the topic for next summit also, legislative reform. Yes, so going ahead, and to the audience, you have been incredible. At last, I just want to conclude by saying that to dream of a system integrated with human rights, it is each and everyone's responsibility. And we have people of all the age from all the part of the system. We want you to take this international summit forward. Don't think that you are a drop in the ocean. You are the ocean itself. Whatever field you are in, let it be connected to medicine, let it be connected to law, you may be a judge and you may be a politician, as somebody has pointed out. Please keep human rights at the center of it. And trust me, it's going to change the entire system. And this reminds me of Kofi Annan's quote that human rights are not a luxury of the rich, nor they are an indulgence of the poor. They are the essence of very humanity. And trust me, Indians have taught humanity to the world, man. So it's an absolute honor to be here. And it's an absolute honor to listen. But I think it was a sin on my part to confine your time. Maybe another forum, another opportunity to learn a lot of knowledge. It's an absolute honor. Thank you for the opportunity.